Great. Hello, everybody. Very glad you could all join us here today as we go through all of this. The presentation that I will present is pretty straightforward. We wanted to make sure there was plenty of time for questions and answers. So for those of you that don't know, I am the Associate Dean of the Institute of Design. I want to talk a little bit about the field of design and how our school fits into that. And then again, jump in with questions. Usually that's our best way to help you out here. And again, thank you for your time today. And looks very interesting to see all of the other colleges as well, all at the same place. So Institute of Design, we have a very interesting history, but before I jump into that, I think it's best to just jump right into the field itself and how it's unique and changing. So if whomever is controlling the slides can move me to the next one, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. So one of the things, let me see if I can get this in my screen all the way here. I hope everyone can see that. So there's a very big shift happening within the field of design. Some of you may think of design as things like interior design or fashion design, industrial design. These are all forms of creation, ways of changing the world. And that was the bulk of what design was for a very long time, about 100 years ago, with the dawning and the Industrial Revolution. Design was used as a way of making things better, making them pretty, better, functional, however you want to describe better, but it was always about things. And that lasted for a good long time. And there's a great deal of work. In fact, pretty much just look around you and pretty much everything that's sitting around you right now, unless you happen to be out in the middle of a cornfield, was designed. Somebody decided how that was going to look, how it was going to act, behave, what materials it was made of. And that's what the bulk of design, the practice of design is about. About 1990 or so, though, some things started to shift with the complexity of objects and things that were made, from automobiles to phones to all sorts of things. Design had to take a broader role to navigate between areas of expertise. It was no longer one person's job to decide what something looked like. It was a team of people backed by teams of people. And so design has shifted. It's become much more a job of navigating between these various teams, helping to stitch things together and to make sure that the result is what was intended. The aesthetic and the operations works the way that, again, everyone was hoping it would, and perhaps in some surprising ways as well. And we've all had this experience as we've seen things around user interface, big web designs, big in user interface. It's probably one of the biggest drivers of design today, often called user interaction and user experience. In the past 10 years or so, we're seeing the emergence of another shift happening as design is being applied to even more challenging problems, things like healthcare, safety, education, food systems. Designers are being asked to take their skill at envisioning futures and being able to describe what is ideal or what is preferable to these very large systems, very complicated areas of human activity. So we see our graduates going into areas of healthcare, into government positions, looking in areas of insurance, right? These things that are very, very complicated. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for design. It's one of the most fastest growing fields and the most dynamic fields that we know of. Okay, let's go to the next slide here. So given that change, to just give you that sense, our school, where did this come from? What are we doing? Well, in that shift that we just talked about, there was a time where what we were able to do and know how to do, our ability as a civilization to know how to make things, surpassed our ability to know what to make, right? And that's kind of weird when you think about it, but think of it as what's worth making, Okay, there's a lot of things we can make, and you see all sorts of stuff out there in the world that you can question of whether it's worth making or not. And it's because it's so easy to make things now. And so there's this weird challenge. There's a gap now between our ability as a society to make things and our ability to know what's worth making. And that is exactly where our school focuses on. What's worth making so that we're able to get to that. And if you move to the next slide, this is probably the best way to imagine it. Our field and what we teach at the Institute of Design sits squarely in the middle of this now poorly formatted slide. I'm so sorry about that. These look much better on my computer. This nexus between what's possible in terms of the technologies of today, the ability to manufacture pretty much anything we can think of, that linked to businesses and what's viable, or you can think of organizations and what's sustainable, with customers and what they desire, or users and what they need, or people and what they deserve, right? Design is in the middle of that and figuring out what's next. How do we stitch together what's possible with what's viable, with what's desirable? And we believe that is the kind of the calling of our type of design, the design that we teach. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good context for what we're talking about. Let's go to the next slide here and tell you just a quick little history and 4 points about our school. So we were founded as the new Bauhaus, and for those of you that are history buffs, or perhaps not, you may have heard of the Bauhaus in Weimar, Germany, which is, for all purposes, generally, we could debate it, but in general, almost all Western design education came from the Bauhaus. The marriage of artisan craft with industrial processes. We are a direct descendant of that school when they had to disband for the war, move over to make their way through Europe into the Americas. Some of the founding faculty landed in New York. Many of them did. Some moved all the way to Chicago, including Moholy-Nagy, who was the founder of the new Bauhaus. We have since been adopted by the wonderful Institute of Technology. It's a long time ago, and have been a college there ever since. We are proud to say at this day, we are the largest graduate-only program in the United States. So we are an only graduate program. There is no undergraduate program within our school. We did that on purpose. That is what we want to be, because we want to be at this advanced level of design. And that also includes PhDs. And in fact, we are the first school to offer a PhD in the US, and we're one of 2 in the US. The only other school is Carnegie Mellon that offers a PhD in design. So we really do try to get to these advanced levels and do so in a pretty interesting way. So let's go to the next slide, and that'll give you a picture of it. It's kind of a fun little subway map here, but the reason why we're putting it out is it points to the student body and where they come from. We have students that come into our programs, and I'll go through the programs in a moment, but all of them, to our various programs, from a design background, for sure, for many. That would be an undergraduate design education, or just experience in design. And so those are 2 really strong ways of getting in. Some of the experience can range from a couple of years, let's say out of undergraduate, a couple of years, wanting to go back and get your master's. Some, are out 10 years out of their bachelor degree and decide that they want to engage with a master's program and look to us. But we also have that funny lane down there at the bottom in green, other fields. We have I'd say about 30 to 40% of our students come from areas other than design. They have backgrounds and undergraduate degrees in things like mechanical engineering, architecture, social sciences, psychology, pretty much anything in the humanities. We've had students with as kind of wide-ranging experiences as culinary studies, philosophy. It's just a wonderful range of backgrounds and experiences, and we love it. We think it's very, very important for the community that we build and the student body that we continue to nurture. We have approximately 100 students across that range, and they come for a variety of degrees. Our main degree is the Master of Design. That's the one that's in the middle in purple there, Master of Design. It's 4 semesters. It's a 2-year master's degree. It's the terminal degree in the United States, at least, for design. It's kind of the end of the road there. And there are variations and flavors of that degree. As I said, that green line coming in to bring people that don't have any design background into the field of design is not an easy task, but we've been able to find a path, a way to do it. And that's through a program, a special program that we call Foundation. It's only 1 semester long. So it makes a 4-semester degree, a 5-semester degree, but it's, you know, it gets you into the field and through the terminal degree of design. Another flavor of this program is one with the Stewart School of Business. Hopefully they'll mention us later on because we're mentioning them now. We have a great partnership with the Stewart School of Business, and we have what's called a dual degree, where you earn both the Master of Design and an MBA at the same time. You simultaneously attend both colleges, and in roughly about 5 semesters, you earned 2 master's degrees. It's very popular. About 10–15% of our student population goes through that program. We also have a smaller variant, you see ESP there in the middle. That is for international students who still are working on their English. It is not a basic English program, it is a professional English program. It is to get those students prepared to work in the US and be proficient with English in design. Much like the foundation program, it adds about a semester on to the total time, but you're able to really hone your English skills. There is a new variant of the Master of Design that we just announced. It's just starting, hasn't made it to these diagrams yet. And that is another dual degree with Stewart, and it's called the Master of Design and Master of Public Administration. And that has come about as more and more of our students and students around the world are interested in applying design to the public sector, whether that's government or non-for-profit. Stewart has a wonderful program in public administration. Some would call that social policy. And we are just launching that this coming fall. So it's very exciting for us, and we expect it to be a pretty big and successful program. Other degrees at the Institute of Design are the Master of Design Methods. That's the MDM in yellow above. That is typically for mid-career folks, people that have been in design or maybe some area of innovation in their company. Perhaps they've been promoted to Vice President of Innovation. It's a 9-month full-time program, or I think it's 2 years part-time. It's a shorter program with the intent of not making you a designer, but allowing you to study design, understand and understand how you can take advantage of design for the various innovation activities that you're a part of. Many students in that program are coming from large organizations where they're looking, it's a form of continuing education for them. And then, as I said, we have the PhD. It is one of the strongest PhDs in the world. We're one of the top 5. We have approximately, I'd say, about a dozen students in it right now. It's small on purpose because it's a very different kind of PhD program. It is one with a partnership with your advisor. And so together you do work and together you publish. It's very powerful. And if anyone's interested in that, we'll let you know how to engage with those faculty at the end of this talk. So that gives you a kind of a funny little picture of the programs that we have here. But what we wanted to again stress was a variety of pathways through our school, and the fact that we do and are excited to bring in students from a variety of backgrounds. It's very important to us. In fact, having a variety of backgrounds actually makes you a more powerful designer, and we want to take advantage of that. And it makes for a very exciting student body. Okay, I can't remember what my next slide is, but why don't we go ahead and jump that way. Oh, let's tell you a little bit about these programs. So just to give you a kind of a double click down into them, the Master of Design, again, this is the our largest program, the bulk of our students take the Master of Design, is broken up into these 4 stages that you'll go through. Not quite the 4 semesters, but close. Depending on where you're coming from, there's a range of entry courses that you take to get you ready for the core courses. The core courses here, these are groups of courses. These are what we call modules. And within each module, there's 4 or 5 different courses that you take. And through that, build a core of competency, a core of skill and knowledge and experience that allows you to apply your design skills to pretty much any domain. And then you marry that with an area of concentration, a domain of application. So whether that's in research or in interaction media, interactive media, we have some interesting concentrations in systems. As we said, these big systems of like healthcare and food systems. And then we have more traditional areas of service design and a new emerging area of civic systems. So those shift around a little bit as those concentrations develop. And then for those that are more advanced, if you do have the time and the wherewithal, there are independent study projects and faculty research that you could be a part of, essentially working with faculty on their research agenda. What's interesting about our program that's different from many other design programs is this breadth of courses and the fact that most of them are electives. About 75 to 80% of your courses are your choice. You choose the path you want to take. You choose the way you want to stitch these courses together for your program of study. We think that's normal in a graduate level to have that kind of flexibility to chart your own course. There certainly are some required courses we want you to take. It's part of the core there, but it's not everything in the core, so that you can really lean the program in the way that you want to make the most of your time. That's important to us because that, again, is what makes for a strong program, is one that is tailored to where you're coming from as a student and where you want to go as a practicing professional. In the next slide, if we could jump ahead, just a quick flash on the Master of Design methods. It's a little different. We're trying to make it a little more streamlined because of its compressed time. There's not a lot of room for electives, although we try to support what we can. The Master of Design methods tends to be more predictable, more prescribed. So we have courses in, or I should say tracks in product management, experience planning, and social innovation. And within that track, so to speak, there are groups of courses. Again, can be flexible. That's part of what you would do in your application. We would work with you to determine exactly how that would work, and then craft that together. The courses are similar to the ones you would have in the Master of Design. In fact, many classes are combined, whereas an MDM student, you are in courses with the Master of Design students. We find that to work very well, but not all of the time. And we will be working in the upcoming months as we do more online courses to provide more online options. If you care to look at this program as a part-time program while you still work and want to take courses in the evening, about half of these courses are taught now in the evening, and we're looking to see if we can expand that further. Okay, so I think that takes care of the courses. What's next on the slide? I think we're almost done here. Just a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. Regardless of the program you're in, Master of Design methods, the PhD, we have these shared values of our community. And it is about design. It is about how we learn through trying things, experimentation, and making prototypes. It's how we are comfortable in the fact that there are no straightforward answers in design. Design is a highly interpreted field. It is one where we want to be grounded, but it is one of acknowledging the fact that the world is complicated, and a simple answer is just not very smart anymore. We do have rigor. It's not just who can come up with the best idea, but who is the deepest in thinking about their ideas and thinking about the context of those ideas to make sure that the argument and the logic behind those ideas is not only strong, but sustainable, right? That it can last. We do this through our I guess it's, yeah, empathy and curiosity together. It's not quite one through the other, but they're both there. It is our passion about making the world better and our curiosity about how it's working now and where is it failing and how might we change it? What are the smallest changes we need to make the biggest effects, right? And doing that through, above everything else, collaborative efforts. As I said earlier, design has shifted. It is no longer a place where one individual, one mad artist can come up with a vision. Um, Even those that still try to hold on to that myth, like an Elon Musk or something, they're not doing it. It is teams and teams of very smart people behind those efforts, making them real. And so only through being better at collaboration can we do it faster, can we do it even better. And so those are the values we share as an institution, as a school, and as a community. I think just a couple more slides here. The other thing that we wanted to highlight, yes, thank you. In terms of studying at ID is this integration. Collaboration and just working together is one thing, but it's not just within design. As I said before, we love having students with backgrounds in other areas, and we actively invite faculty and have many different kinds of faculty on our staff with backgrounds outside of design. That we bring to our studies to make sure that we can learn from these other disciplines so that we're able to make the impacts that we make, to do and wrestle with the level of problems that we like to wrestle with. And then finally, I think finally, next slide, please. We don't have just classes. We're not boring. We have other things that we do as a graduate program and as one that's focused on the profession of design. We do a tremendous amount of conference work. Obviously, in the current pandemic situation, it's limited, but we have done a lot of interesting talks, and we're actually doing maybe a few more than we usually would do online. And encourage our students to participate fully as practitioners, and that helps us, again, work within our community and within our practice. We do a lot of research projects. There's a thing called the Action Lab, where it is a series of projects beyond courses, outside of coursework, that students can participate in, tends to be aligned with our PhD program, and some wonderfully interesting projects coming out of that. We have corporate sponsored research where corporations, many companies are interested in the kinds of classes we teach and the projects we do. So they will sponsor, they will be a part of our courses to provide their problems and provide their insights so that we can work with real world problems. That's important to us because that's how we get better. Many student activity groups, again, with 100 students, there's lots of things that we can do. And they do a lot of work with alumni as well. We have a thing called Career ID, which is our efforts to simultaneously, while you are studying, connect broadly with your field of practice and how you can develop your career through panels, discussions, studio visits, interviews, all sorts of different things. And then other fun things like end of year show. That's a kind of a throwback to what design schools used to do. We also have things called Now House, which is a really fun student driven event where students, it's kind of a student party. They're going to go off and do their own thing, but it's for the entire design community. We do partnerships with other design schools around the city of Chicago. We're doing one now with the Art Institute of Chicago and our sister school in Politecnico Milano in Italy. So lots of different things to get involved in outside of courses. I think, yes, if you can go to the next one, last one here in our outcomes. We have approximately 2,400 alumni out there in the world over our last 20 to 30 years. While it's not a huge number, it's not tens of thousands of students, what is a huge number is the number of countries they're in and the companies they work for. We have students in just about every company you can imagine, Fortune 500, as well as organizations outside of commercial practice. So we have students in places like Google and Facebook and Apple, places like large companies like Ford and Steelcase, General Electric. We have them in large consultancies like McKinsey and Accenture, Y&R. Those are just the American companies that come to mind, but equally in other companies in China and Tokyo, Korea in particular. We have many students in Brazil and working in Brazil and in Mexico. Some students in recent, we have a new kind of trend of students coming out of Africa, which is very exciting for them to go back and practice. Students in all areas of India. So a very exciting place, a population, while very spread out, is a very tight-knit group. Okay, and I think that does it, if I'm not mistaken. So there we go. That's us. Again, happy to answer questions here. It looks like we have some time, but I want to definitely point you to our website at id.iit.edu. It has a great deal more information about the details of our program, how to get involved, how to even come by for a visit. We do online webinars all the time like this with just students interested in our program, with other faculty, with existing students to answer questions. You can see a whole slew of projects that we've done, that students have done, that the school has done. So feel free to poke around, take a look, and get a sense for the kinds of things that we do. And we would be more than happy to talk with you about anything about design, whether we're the school for you or not. We are committed to the practice, and we want you to have the best education you can find. So we're happy to talk to you about what we can offer you and how that may compare to other places that you're considering.